My name is Genevieve Monroe, 36 years old, and I always thought I was a good daughter. I spent my whole life trying to please my mother, Beatrice, planning the perfect birthday dinner at her favorite restaurant in Boston. When she raised her crystal glass for a toast, I expected gratitude. Instead, she looked me dead in the eyes and said, "The best gift? You leaving my life?" What she did not know was how completely I would take her words to heart. Before I tell you how I disappeared from my mother's life, drop a comment telling me where you're watching from, and subscribe if you've ever had to cut ties with toxic family. To understand why those words shattered me that night, you need to know our history. My childhood memories are filled with my mother's disapproving glances and cutting remarks. Nothing I did was ever good enough. My artwork was messy, my grades were never perfect enough, and my clothes were never stylish enough. While other mothers hung crayon drawings on refrigerators, mine would point out every flaw before tossing them in the trash. "Stand up straight, Genevieve. No one likes a girl with bad posture," she would say in public, yanking my shoulders back so hard it left red marks. "Smile more, but not like that. You look ridiculous." These constant corrections became the soundtrack of my childhood. My father was different. He was warm, encouraging, and quick to praise my efforts. "That's my bright girl," he would say, his eyes crinkling at the corners when I showed him my science fair project or a story I had written. He was the buffer between Mom's cold criticism and my fragile self-esteem. But when I was 13, everything changed. Dad died suddenly of a heart attack. I found him collapsed in our backyard while Mom was at her weekly bridge club. I still remember screaming for help, the neighbor rushing over to perform CPR, and the ambulance lights flashing against our house. And I remember my mother's first words to me at the hospital. "Why weren't you watching him more carefully?" You knew his heart was weak. Those words planted themselves deep in my psyche. Somehow, in my mother's narrative, I became partially responsible for my father's death. It was the beginning of a guilt she would cultivate in me for decades. My teenage years became an endless quest for approval that never came. I joined every club, maintained a 4.0 GPA, became captain of the debate team, and editor of the school newspaper. Each achievement was met with, "Jessica's daughter got accepted to Harvard," or "Olivia's daughter has much better stage presence in her recital." Despite her discouragement, I earned a full scholarship to Northwestern University. "You will probably drop out after a semester," she said when I showed her the acceptance letter. But I did not drop out. I graduated summa cum laude with a double major in finance and economics. Mom did not attend my graduation, claiming she had a migraine. My relationships suffered the most from her interference. At 23, I dated David, a kind medical student. When he came to dinner, Mom spent the evening subtly undermining me. "Genevieve was always so awkward with boys," she told him. A week later, she called him privately to tell him about my emotional issues. He broke things off shortly after. This pattern repeated with Andrew at 26 and Leo at 29. Each time, my mother found ways to sabotage whatever happiness I had found. "I am just looking out for you," she would say. "You have terrible judgment in men." Despite it all, I built a successful career as a financial advisor. By 36, I was handling portfolios for high net worth clients and had been promoted to senior advisor at my firm. I purchased a beautiful condo in Boston's Back Bay neighborhood and had created a stable life for myself. And still, I supported my mother. After Dad died, she never worked, living off his life insurance and pension. When those funds dwindled, I began supplementing her income. I paid her property taxes, covered her utilities, and funded her extravagant lifestyle. Every Sunday, I would drive to her house in Brooklyn, listen to her complain about her neighbors, her friends, and most often, me. This year, for her 66th birthday, I planned something special. I reserved a private room at Morton's Steakhouse, her favorite restaurant, invited her closest friends, arranged for a professional photographer, and ordered a custom cake. For months, I had been working with a jeweler to restore my grandmother's sapphire bracelet, a family heirloom my mother had always coveted, but my grandmother had left to me. I decided it was time to give it to her, hoping this generous gesture would finally earn her approval. This birthday will be different, I told my therapist the week before. I think she will finally see how much I care. My therapist gave me a concerned look but said nothing. Deep down, I knew I was setting myself up for disappointment, but hope is a stubborn thing. The evening of my mother's birthday, everything at Morton's was perfect. The private dining room gleamed with candlelight, reflecting off crystal and fine china. Centerpieces of white roses and hydrangeas, her favorite flowers, adorned the tables. I arrived an hour early to ensure everything was perfect. At 7 o'clock sharp, guests began arriving. My mother's friends greeted me warmly. "Your mother is so lucky to have you," said Catherine, her oldest friend. At 7:15, my mother arrived. She wore an expensive black dress I had purchased for her last Christmas. I moved to greet her with a hug, but she offered her cheek for a kiss instead. "The valet took forever," were her first words to me. "And this room is too dark. Who selected these flowers? Hydrangeas make me sneeze." They had been her favorites for as long as I could remember, but I said nothing. The dinner proceeded with my mother holding court among her friends, barely acknowledging my presence. After the main course, I stood to present her gift. "Mom," I said, "I wanted to give you something special for your 66th birthday. This was grandmother's bracelet. I had it restored." The table fell silent as she opened the box. The sapphires caught the light, twinkling. My mother looked at it for a long moment, then closed the box with a snap. "Your grandmother should have left this to me in the first place," she said flatly. "She always did favor you inappropriately." The table grew uncomfortably quiet. My cheeks burned with humiliation as I returned to my seat. When the cake arrived, everyone sang "Happy Birthday." My mother smiled for the photographer, then stood to make a toast. "Thank you all for coming tonight," she said, her voice carrying across the now silent room. "It is nice to be surrounded by true friends." She did not look at me. As I get older, I find myself valuing authenticity more and more. She raised her glass higher and finally turned her gaze to me. "If I were to wish for a gift this year," she continued, her eyes cold, "the best gift would be for certain people to just leave my life entirely. No more preteens, no more obligation, just freedom from relationships that were never meant to be." The room went completely still. Her friends shifted uncomfortably. "To another year," she finished, taking a sip of her wine as if she had not just publicly rejected her only child. I sat frozen, unable to move or speak. For the remainder of the evening, my mother chatted with her friends as if nothing had happened. The drive to take her home was silent. When we arrived, she gathered her things. "Dinner was adequate," she said. "Next time, choose a better restaurant." "Did you mean what you said about wanting me out of your life?" I asked. She paused. "Genevieve, do not be so sensitive. I was making a general statement." "It did not feel general, Mom. It felt very specific." She sighed heavily. "If you choose to take everything personally, that is your problem. But yes, our relationship has always been a burden. I did my duty raising you. I am not obligated to pretend we have some special bond now." "I pay your bills," I said quietly. "I maintain your house. I take you to every doctor's appointment." "And you never let me forget it, do you?" she snapped. "You think your financial support buys you the right to be in my life? That is your father in you, always keeping score." She slammed the car door and walked away. That night, I realized a fundamental truth. Nothing would ever be enough to make my mother love me. As dawn broke, I made a decision that would change both our lives forever. I did not sleep that night. Instead, I sat at my kitchen table with a legal pad, making lists and plans. By 6 a.m., I had a complete strategy for disappearing from my mother's life. First, I called my office and took 2 weeks of emergency personal leave. Next, I contacted Mark Thompson, a realtor I had helped. I need to sell my condo quickly and discreetly, I told him. No public listings, no open houses. Find a private buyer willing to pay cash. By noon, I was at my financial advisor's office. I need to untangle my finances from my mother's, I explained to Arthur Cole. Every account, every automatic payment. Arthur reviewed my documents. This is extensive, he noted. You are currently paying for her property taxes, utilities, credit card minimums, car insurance, and medical co-pays. Yes, and I want it all stopped immediately. We spent 3 hours restructuring my financial life. I froze the joint checking account, canceled the automatic payments, and removed myself as an authorized user on her credit cards and her as the beneficiary on my life insurance. What about the mortgage on her house? Arthur asked. You have been making those payments for 5 years. Stop those too, I said firmly. The house is in her name. The responsibility is hers. From there, I went to the post office to forward all my mail to a new P.O. box. I called every shared service provider and removed my name and payment information. Back at my condo, I packed only what I truly needed: clothes, important documents, and a few sentimental items from my father. Everything else, the expensive artwork, the formal dining set, the designer clothes, could stay behind. That evening, I wrote my mother a letter. It took 7 drafts. Mom, it began, you said the best gift would be for me to leave your life. I am giving you that gift. By the time you read this, I will be gone. The financial support I have provided has ended. The house, bills, and all expenses are now solely your responsibility. This is not done out of anger, but acceptance. You are right that our relationship has been based on obligation. I release us both. Do not try to find me. I do not wish to be found. Genevieve. I sealed the letter, drove to her house late that night, slipped it under her door, and walked away without looking back. That night, I checked into a hotel under a different name, paying cash. For the first time in my life, I was not responsible for my mother's happiness. The weight that lifted from my shoulders was so immense, I actually gasped aloud. Over the next week, my plan unfolded. Mark found a cash buyer for my condo. I opened new bank accounts, deactivated my social media, and got a new phone number. I took only what fit in my car, driving west with no specific destination in mind, severing every tether to my former existence. The first week of freedom was disorienting. Habit had me reaching for my phone to check on my mother. At times, guilt would crash over me in waves, but beneath the guilt ran a current of something unfamiliar. Possibility. For the first time, my decisions affected only me. I had disappeared from my mother's life completely. What I did not expect was how thoroughly I would disappear from my own former life as well. The Genevieve who had existed in Boston, the dutiful daughter constantly seeking approval, was gone too. 1 week after I disappeared, my mother began trying to contact me. Her messages to my old email were irritated. Genevieve, the lawn service says you canceled their contract. Call me immediately. The electric company claims the automatic payment was stopped. Fix this today. She did not mention my letter. 10 days after I left, my former assistant Sophie emailed my new address. Your mother came to the office today, she wrote. She was very upset, demanding to know where you were. Security had to escort her out. The same day, Catherine called my therapist's office. Your mother appears to be escalating, Dr. Albright said carefully during our next phone session. Catherine said she has been calling everyone you know, becoming increasingly frantic. 2 weeks in, my mother discovered her house payment was overdue. This revelation, according to Catherine, sent her into a tailspin. Social media became her next battleground. My daughter has abandoned me without warning, she wrote. She has left her elderly mother without support or care. A month into my absence, my mother received notice that her credit card payments were past due. All 6 cards were maxed out, and she faced over $40,000 in credit card debt with no way to pay it. 5 weeks after I left, she missed her second mortgage payment. This, coupled with her mounting debt, caused her first health crisis. Catherine found her collapsed in her kitchen, hyperventilating from an anxiety attack. After 6 weeks, my mother left her first voicemail that wasn't demanding or accusing. Genevieve, I do not understand why you have done this. I need you to come home. I miss you. The last part sounded forced, unpracticed. 3 months after my disappearance, my mother wrote me a letter, forwarded through my therapist. Genevieve, it read, I have spent these months angry at you. Yesterday, I found a photo album. Looking at your face, I saw something I never allowed myself to see before. How much you were hurting because of me. I was not a good mother. I was jealous of your relationship with your father. After he died, I blamed you because blaming myself was too painful. I resented you for opportunities I never had. I am not asking for money or help. The house is being sold. I am moving to a senior apartment. I understand why you left. I would have left too. I am sorry. Mom. The letter contained no demands, no guilt trips. For the first time, my mother had seen me as a separate person. A week later, Catherine sent an update. My mother had joined a support group for estranged parents and was seeing a therapist weekly. While my mother was confronting her new reality, I was building mine. After 2 weeks of driving, I settled in Seattle. I found a modest apartment in Queen Anne and furnished it entirely to my own taste, simple, comfortable, and mine. Using my credentials, I found a position at a boutique financial firm specializing in ethical investments. Finding a therapist was my next priority. Dr. Harding specialized in childhood trauma. Estrangement is sometimes the healthiest choice, she told me. Not every relationship can or should be saved. Those words gave me permission to stop feeling guilty. Making friends was challenging. I joined a hiking group, a book club, and a community garden. Slowly, I built a circle of friends who knew nothing about my past. The first holiday season alone was difficult, but New Year's Eve marked a turning point. My new friend Chloe invited me to a small gathering where I met Samuel, a high school English teacher with kind eyes. When he asked for my number, I hesitated, but I gave it to him anyway, a small act of courage that felt enormous. Meeting Samuel's family was an education in healthy dynamics. They disagreed without contempt and expressed affection without strings. 6 months into my new life, I had a breakthrough in therapy. Dr. Harding asked me to write a letter to my younger self. Dear little Genevieve, I wrote, it was never your job to make Mom happy. Her unhappiness lived inside her long before you were born. You were a good daughter. You were worthy of love exactly as you were. Reading those words aloud, I sobbed, and for the first time, I truly believed them. As the 1 year mark of my departure approached, I received another update from Catherine. My mother had sold her house, paid her debts, and moved. Looking at a photo Catherine sent of my mother, I made a decision I never thought I would make. I would return to Boston. After a year in Seattle, I flew back to Boston with a mixture of dread and curiosity. I didn't tell my mother I was coming. On my second day, I visited Catherine. Your mother has changed, she told me over tea. Not completely, but there is a humility to her now. I found myself driving toward Brooklyn. I parked across the street from my mother's new, modest apartment complex, intending just to see the building. But as I sat there, I saw her walking toward the entrance. Without a conscious decision, I got out of the car. We nearly collided at the coffee shop next door. She was in line ahead of me. It was only when the barista called out Genevieve for my order that she turned. 2 months after I left, my mother received foreclosure warnings. Catherine helped my mother meet with a financial advisor who gave stark advice: sell the house, pay off the debt, or face bankruptcy. Your mother finally broke down, Catherine reported. She admitted that she drove you away. She showed me the letter you left. It was the first time I have seen her take responsibility for anything in the 40 years I have known her. Genevieve, her voice was barely a whisper. Hello, Mom? We stood frozen. Finally, she spoke again. Are you, are you okay? The question surprised me. I am, I said simply. Are you? She nodded, her eyes never leaving my face. Would you, would you sit with me? Just for a few minutes? I hesitated, then gestured to a small table. After a few minutes of strained small talk, I suggested we walk to the park across the street. We sat on a bench, leaving careful space between us. Then, my mother did something I had never seen her do. She cried. Not manipulative tears, but silent, dignified tears. I am sorry, she said. I never thought I would see you again. I never planned to come back, I admitted. I understand why, she nodded. I have had a lot of time to think. She told me about her support group and how she recognized her own patterns of control and criticism in other parents' stories. My therapist, Dr. Evans, helped me understand something. She took a deep breath. I treated you the way my mother treated me. This was new. My grandmother had always seemed like a saint in family stories. My mother nodded. She was cruel. Nothing I did was ever good enough. She told me I was the disappointment of her life. Sound familiar? You never told me. I never told anyone. I was ashamed. When you were born, I swore I would be different, but I did not know how. That explains some things, I said carefully, but it does not excuse them. No, she agreed immediately. Nothing excuses how I treated you, especially after your father died. I was jealous of your relationship with him. He knew how to love you in a way I did not. After he died, I blamed you because I could not bear to blame myself. We sat in silence. I brought something for you, she said finally, pulling a worn leather journal from her purse. I have been writing this since you left. You do not have to read it, but if you ever want to understand, it is all there. I took the journal. I am not asking for forgiveness, she continued. I am not even asking to be part of your life again. I just wanted you to know that I understand now why you had to leave and that I am truly sorry for making that necessary. As we parted, there was no tearful reconciliation. Instead, there was something more valuable. Truth. I live in Seattle now, I told her. I have a good life there. She smiled, a genuine smile without bitterness. I am glad. That is what I should have wanted for you all along. I cannot promise anything, I said carefully. But if you would like, we could exchange emails. Just see how it goes. I would like that very much, she replied. As I watched her walk away, I felt something unexpected. Hope. Not for the relationship I had always craved, but for a new, more honest connection between two flawed adults. 2 years have passed since I vanished from my mother's life. In that time, I have built a life defined by peace, genuine connection, and self-worth. My career in Seattle has flourished. I was made partner at the firm last year, specializing in helping women achieve financial independence. Samuel proposed 6 months ago on a hiking trail. Our connection has grown slowly and steadily, built on mutual respect. When I said yes, it was with complete confidence. My relationship with my mother has evolved into something I never imagined possible. Our emails expanded to occasional phone calls. Last Christmas, I invited her to visit Seattle. Watching her interact with Samuel and his family was revelatory. She was quieter, less quick to judge. Your mother is not what I expected from your stories, Samuel said after she left. She is not the same person, I replied, realizing the truth of it. Neither am I. We are planning a small wedding for next spring. When I hesitantly asked if she would like to attend, she wrote back, I would be honored, but I will understand if you change your mind. This day should be perfect for you, not stressful because of my presence. This consideration for my feelings was evidence of how far she had come. My mother continues her therapy and support group. She volunteers at a community garden and teaches art classes. We will never have the close mother-daughter bond that some friends enjoy. Too much damage was done. But we have something different, something hard-won, an honest relationship between two adults who see each other clearly. Looking back, I see now that my decision to disappear was necessary, not just for my healing, but for hers as well. As long as I remained the dutiful daughter, neither of us could change. It was only in my absence that she was forced to confront her behavior and its consequences. Sometimes the kindest thing we can do for ourselves and others is to disappear until we are seen for our true worth. And sometimes the people who hurt us most deeply can change. As for my mother and me, we proceed carefully, each interaction a small test of our new boundaries. At her most recent birthday dinner, a quiet affair, she raised her glass in a toast. To second chances, she said simply, and to the daughter who was brave enough to leave so that both of us could find better versions of ourselves.